What's going on, brothers? What's going on, brothers? What's going on, brothers? It is Friday night. What's going on? What's going on? Welcome to Friday Night Live, brothers. Welcome to Friday Night Live. This is another live, raw, uncut, unfiltered broadcast. What's going on, brothers? Oh, there's a whole bunch that's happening. There's a whole bunch that's being chattered about among the chattering classes in the Black manosphere. What's happening, brothers? I see you, brother Christopher Harlan. What's going on? Oh yeah, man. I've been watching the streams. I've been looking at all the chatter that's been going on here. Oh my God. Man, I've been listening to so many brothers. I've been listening to Kevin Samuels and his latest stream, his stream last night. I've listened to the lead attorney and the stream that he did today. And I listened to attorney Dennis Sperling in his most latest stream. Y'all go check those brothers out. There's a lot that's going on, a lot of chatter going on in the Black manosphere. What's going on, brother? There's a lot that's going on in this Black manosphere, a lot of chatter around tricking, chatter around game, chatter around strategy, chatter around the future, the direction of the Black manosphere. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? It's a whole lot of chatter that has been generated over this dust up. This dust up. Y'all know the dust up over the dynamic duos. I'm not going to say their names. The dynamic duos who are in a state of civil war. What's going on, brothers? What's going on? What's going on? Oh, brothers, I want us to have a conversation tonight because we got to talk about strategy. We got to talk about strategy. I see you, Adam Williams. I see you, Christopher Harlan. We got to talk about these young black men. Young black men. We got to talk about these young black men and how these young black men are going to navigate this 21st century. How these young black men are going to navigate the 21st century, brothers. Y'all see the title of the track of this chat: Tricks, Players, and Spectators. I told you, brothers. I told you. Brothers, we have to raise our standards. We have to change our thinking. We have to reorient rather the way we think about how we navigate gynocentric America. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. Oh, yeah. I saw Brother Kevin last night. I saw his stream. About high value men and the question of, do high value men pay? And that question over against the people who talk about game, people who talk about having verbal strategy and being charismatic and persuasive and all that kind of stuff. We got to talk about you, brothers, and how you're going to navigate this terrain. We got to talk about it, brothers. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about it because in 21st century America, marriage marriage is risky business for men in general, and marriage is risky business in particular for black men. A gynocracy who does not value the institution of marriage as it has been traditionally understood. They don't want to be wives. Hell, they hardly want to be girlfriends. They want to dictate to you every interaction between a man and a woman. They want to dictate everything. They want to control how you think about relationships. They want to control how you go about interacting with women. They want to tell you about how you're supposed to think about long-term relationships. Hell, they even want to tell you how to deal with short-term relationships. But we got to deal with it. We got to deal with it. We got to deal with it. That's right. We got to deal with the strategy. I want to give a shout out, as I'm talking right now, I want to give a shout out to all the black men who are over the age of 50 years old, who are on YouTube, who come from a different era, who come from an era who were schooled under what some people call the cold approach, who were schooled under this whole idea of game and being verbally persuasive and being charismatic and being psychologists when it comes down to dealing with women. Men who came of age before the internet, men who came of age before social media, men who came of age before dating apps, men who came of age before what people call today as the hookup culture. And we got to talk about all that kind of stuff. And we got to talk about those men, and we got to talk about how those men, in their philosophies of dating and interactions, have so many critiques, so many things to say about how men operate and how men deal with the present state of affairs when it comes down to the opposite sex. Because the reality is, my brothers, what's going on? I see you. The reality is, my brothers, that we are men. This is a space right here for black men. This is a space for black men who identify as heterosexual. And there are some black men in this space who are married. They have wives. They've been married for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And they're empathetic towards black men who are not married. We have those men, but we also have a whole bunch of men who are not married, men like myself who happen to be bachelors, men who think not just once, not just twice, but 3 times about the institution of marriage, who are concerned about divorce, the fallout of divorce, who are concerned about child support and the fallout that comes from child support. Men who are single, men who have good reason to be suspicious and to be questioning and skeptical about the present day dating scene. And we got to talk about what we teach young black men. I'm almost 50 years old. I am almost, y'all heard me before. I am almost 50 years old. So I done heard it all, brothers. I done heard it all. I done been through it all. I done seen it all. I came under that school. I came under the cold approach school. Y'all know about that cold approach. I came under that school where we were taught, black men were taught that you had to have verbal game. You had to have verbal game. And that verbal game is all that you need in order to be successful with the opposite sex. And that you need to be direct and all that kind of stuff. Shout out to Mr. Mode 1. Shout out to Alan Roger Curry. Shout out to that brother, Alan Roger Curry. Black man who's been putting it down for a long time, especially for those black men who are bachelors and who are trying to be successful and all that kind of stuff. But we got to talk about this tension. We got to talk about these tensions, brothers. These tensions between these philosophies. These men. And y'all see them, y'all see the podcast, and y'all see all the gurus who try to give you all this strategy, give you all these philosophies, and they talk as though everything that they offer to you as blueprints are going to guarantee ultimate success when it comes down to the opposite sex, to the opposite gender. We got to talk about that, brothers. And we got to talk about other strategies that don't involve all that game, other strategies that don't involve all the head manipulation, all the psychological stuff, other strategies that don't exhaust a whole bunch of time and energy, and things that take you away from your purpose, from your calling, from the things that you need to do in order to move forward in this society, brothers. What's going on? I see you. 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 Happy life. I see you, Xavier. What's going on, my brothers? What's going on? I see Timothy Harden. I see you. I see you, brothers. I don't want to talk directly about these two platforms. Y'all see the two platforms going head to head. The brothers who are out of Canada and the brothers out of Miami. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Everybody talking about them. The brothers who are based in Miami and the brothers who are based in Canada. One dynamic duo over here and the other dynamic duo over here, and all the fallout. And again, like I said, I've been listening to a whole bunch of commentary on this stuff. Earlier, I was listening to the lead attorney talking about all this stuff. And I want to give a shout out to the lead attorney, because the lead attorney made it a point to talk about why we don't need to be misleading young men. We don't need to be misleading young black men in terms of navigating the terrain of the opposite sex in the 21st century. Brothers, we live in a hostile climate. We live in a hostile environment. And if you are a young black man and you are under the age of 30, hell, if you are 25, if you are 23, and you are 22, you need to be smart. You need to be strategic. You need to know the right thing and the right things to do in order to navigate the environment that we're living in. Aha. That's right. I see you, Floyd. I see you, brother Floyd Hope. I see you. I see you in the house. Y'all see me. I got my B. Y'all see my hat? I got my BMI hat right here. I got my BMI hat right here. Black male independence. That's what this is right here. For those of you guys who are new to the chat, Black male independence. Y'all go ahead and like the stream. Y'all go ahead and like the stream. Like the stream. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Please share this. Please share this. Please share this. Let me just say something to you, brothers. I'm almost 50 years old, man. I know what it was like. I know what it was like before dating apps. I know what it was like before social media. I know what it's like to be a black man who did not have a whole bunch of resources, a black heterosexual man who wanted to be in a relationship with women. And I understand, I know about the traditions. I know about the culture. I know about the wisdom. I know about the ideology of the player. The ideology of the player. Let me give a shout out. I'm going to say some names. Let me give a shout out to Mr. Rom Wills. Mr. Rom Wills out there in the DC area. I want to give a shout out to him. Baltimore, DC, y'all know that area out there. Rom Wills has been on YouTube for a long time, talking about sexual dynamics, talking about interactions, talking about the body game, talking about the verbal game, talking about all these things that black men that black men should be concerned with in terms of dealing with the psychology of a woman. And I have a whole lot of respect for Ron Wills. Ron Wills is a very smart guy. Ron Wills is much older than me. I point out to Ron Wills because everything that he talks about on his channel is stuff that I grew up with. It's stuff that I know. I learned as a boy. I learned growing up in Miami in terms of trying to be successful with the opposite sex, okay? And dealing with your attributes, dealing with your personality, dealing with being verbal and being persuasive, okay? And being seductive and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to say this, those brothers come out a different school. This is the player school. This is the player school. And there are different levels and different degrees of being a player, okay? And one of the hallmarks of being a player is being able to have the greatest advantage in a interaction with a woman, without expending tremendous resources. That is, to have the greatest success with the opposite sex without going through all these rituals of dating, whining, and dining, and flattering her and making her feel a certain kind of way. You understand what I'm saying? Strategies that at the end of the day are geared towards her psychology. Strategies that demand that you be direct, that you be straightforward, that you be confident, that you have all these sorts of skills. And this player philosophy has existed. It predated Ron Wills. It came before him. He inherited it. He's mastered it. He talks about it and all that kind of stuff. Shout out to him. This is not a jab at Ron Wills or anything like that, or the other brothers who do that. This is not a jab at Alan Roger Curry. I understand. I've read Alan Roger Curry's books. I've read Mode 1 and all that. I understand that. And I understand that there are men who don't have those skills, who need to get those skills from other men in order to be successful, to be effective with the opposite sex. But what we need to do, brothers, we have to talk about this stuff in relationship to the 21st century. The 21st century. And what do I mean by that, brothers? Is that we are dealing in a hostile environment towards men. We are dealing with an environment where darn near every heterosexual interaction between a man and a woman is seen as criminal. Every heterosexual interaction between a man and woman is seen as wicked, as seen as evil, is seen as criminal. We are in an environment right now, and y'all know the environment. We are in an environment right now where you can't even compliment a woman. You can't even tell a woman that her dress looks good. You can't tell her that she smells good. You can't compliment her in any kind of way. You got to be careful about how you approach, how you interact with women. You can't be too aggressive, because if you're too aggressive, you can be read in a predatory manner. If you are too direct, you can be seen as a criminal, and you can find yourself in a whole lot of trouble. So in this 21st century America that has been influenced by the gynocracy that exists right now, and feminism and liberalism and all that kind of stuff, young men need to learn how to navigate. We dealing with a gynocentric situation right now where you have the opposite sex. The opposite sex is antisocial. The opposite sex does not know how to interact with us. And brothers, y'all see this stuff. Y'all see this stuff on Kevin Samuels' platform. Kevin Samuels has exposed this. He has exposed this, that right now in the 21st century, what is today's date? Today is August the 20th, 2021, you have a huge population of women, so-called straight heterosexual women, who do not know how to interact with men. They do not know how to interact with men. They do not know how to deal with the interests that men have towards them. And they have been conditioned by feminism, the LGBTQ movement, and by liberalism and all these other things to see black men, in particular black men, in very wicked and demonic ways. And because of that, there are certain strategies, and I'm going to put this out here. The player strategy in particular is one that has significant limitations. Significant limitations, brothers. You're in a situation right now in America, and I told y'all, I just came back from South America. I just came back from Rio de Janeiro. And what did I tell y'all when I was in Rio? I said, in Brazil, there is no such thing as a gender war. There is no gender war. Men and women interact in that context in a very healthy and productive way. Heterosexual men and women. The women understand that men desire and want to be with women, and the men understand that women desire and want to be with them heterosexually. And so when you go to the clubs, when you go to the bars, when you go to the restaurants, when you're out in social settings with men and women, it is not abnormal. It is not abnormal for a man to approach a woman. It is not abnormal for a man to have a conversation with a woman, to express his interest towards her. It is not abnormal. It is not abnormal to see couples. People dance, they have fun, they enjoy themselves. But right now in the American terrain right now, that is not the case. That is not the case. I keep telling y'all, you go to a restaurant, you go to a bar, you go to a place where you can find men and women, and what do you see? You see division. You see polarization. And you're in a situation where your desires, your interests can be turned against you. They can be weaponized against you. It doesn't matter how polite you are. It doesn't matter how much of a gentleman you are. You will be seen as wicked and evil. That's why, brothers, women right now are complaining. You see it on TikTok. Y'all see that? You see it on TikTok. You see it on Instagram. You have young women who are complaining about men not approaching them. Let me say this again, brothers. You have young women, mainly women who are in their 20s. They are complaining about men, particularly black men. They're complaining about them not approaching them. They are complaining about men not engaging them, not trying to date them, not trying to, in old school parlance, not trying to court them, not trying to flirt with them. There are men are not flirting with women. And men are not flirting with women. Men are not approaching women because we are in a toxic situation where those approaches can get a man in a whole bunch of trouble. And because of that, we have to talk about strategy. We got to talk about these young men and what these young men are doing. And I'm going to tell you, the brothers in Miami, I'm not going to say what their names are. Those brothers in Miami who have their platform, they have over 300,000 subscribers or what have you. They think that they're doing young men a good service by talking about all this POA stuff and all this game, without telling them the other side, without giving these guys the scoop about the consequences of their interactions, these aggressive interactions with the opposite sex. And that's what you have to do, brothers. That's what we have to do. We have to talk about this type of thing right here. And you got a whole bunch of game dudes. Y'all know who the game dudes are. The game dudes who want to shame young men. They want to shame young black men. They want to call them square. They want to call them weak. They want to call them lame. They say that they're not persuasive. They're not charismatic. They can't get women because there's something wrong with their personalities and all that kind of stuff. They say all those things to shame them and make them feel bad about themselves. And they do so in the face of this reality, guys. In the face of this reality is that America right now, the social scene is antisocial. It is antisocial. That's why dating apps, that's why everybody has flooded to dating apps. That's why you got guys going into Instagram and going into women's DMs and all that kind of stuff. Because in some respects, it is safer, it is less volatile to deal with people on them dating apps, to deal with people in their DMs on Instagram and these other places, Snapchat, whatever you want to call it, than it is to interact with people in real life. That's just the way it is. And this is the culture. This is the environment. This is the environment that has been created by feminism and liberalism. Feminism and liberalism. Feminism has told these women to keep their distance from men. Liberalism and feminism have taught these women to be antisocial, okay? Antisocial. And what complicates this is that these same antisocial women will get on social media and they will talk in public about how men are not being men, about how men are not manning up, and how men are not approaching them, and how men are not doing traditional things that men have done for ages and ages and ages and ages and ages. The women created this environment. And we need to be direct and honest with these young men about this situation that they're going through. And young men need to be smart. You can't use the old strategies. Young man, you young black men who are in your 20s, you can't use the strategies that my generation was raised on. You young black men, you cannot use the strategies in many respects that older black men were raised on, particularly older black men who were single, older black men who were bachelors, who were unmarried, who lived in an environment. If you were in the 1990s, you had an environment that was conducive to that. You lived in an environment that was apropos. It was apropos to all of that, okay? You can go back to our music, man. Go back to the music. You can go all the way back to people like Barry White. You go back to Barry White, okay? You can listen to the music, and you listen to the serenade, and you listen to the seductive nature of the lyrics. You listen to those old school black men, okay? You can listen to Isaac Hayes. You can listen to Teddy Pendergrass. Hell, you can fast forward and you can listen to rap music, listen to hip hop. Go back to Outkast. Go back to Outkast's first album, Southern playalistic Cadillac music. Remember Big Boy from Outkast? Big Boy had a persona of the player. It was the player. You can listen to music. You can listen to Todd Shaw, better known as Too Short. Too Short, that was his persona, that of the player. You listen to 8-Ball and MJG, the player. There was so much player music that was out there during the 1990s. You go back to Big Daddy Kane. You look at Big Daddy Kane. Big Daddy Kane, he was on some playboy stuff, okay? And so that type of man was receptive. That type of man was able to thrive in an era where you did not have the type of toxic ideas about masculinity that exist right now. And brothers, you have to be smart. You have to be smart in terms of engaging the opposite sex. You got to be smart. And this is one of the reasons why I advocate on this page, Black Men Independence. This is one reason why so many brothers talk about traveling. We talk about traveling because when you go to other cultures, when you go to Colombia, you go to Thailand, you go to Vietnam, you go to Mexico, you go to Brazil, you go to these other places where the populations are not dominated by white people. You go to these places where they have traditional cultures, where it is not a sin, where it's not a pathology to be masculine. It is understood that men and women interact in a certain kind of way. We would not be here, brothers. We would not be here. We would not be here without male-female interaction. That's how we reproduce ourselves, brothers. That's how we reproduce ourselves. And we are in a situation right now in America where the birth rate is falling. The birth rate is falling. The birth rate among the white population is declining. It's declining. And hell, the black people are not replacing their numbers. And one of the factors that's a part of that is this anti-male ethos, anti-male ideology that so permeates the culture. Because you can't procreate. People cannot procreate and create families, and people cannot create legacies if there is deep antagonism between men and women, heterosexual men and women. And you have to think about the LGBTQ and what the LGBTQ has contributed to this. You have so many women who have bought into, who have been colonized by these ideas. You have so many women who are supposed to be heterosexual, who essentially have a kind of a lesbian orientation when it comes down to men. They are not amenable and open to men. They rather be around women than be with men. That's just the way it is. And they fight against heterosexuality as though they themselves are not heterosexual. And so because of that, young men need to be smart. You need to be smart. You don't want to get caught up in no charges, all this harassment stuff that is going on. That stuff is very real. The stuff on your job, the stuff in public spaces, all sorts of places. Okay? All right? You've had movements in this country where people have tried to, you've had feminists who've tried to create laws around street harassment and all that kind of stuff. So you got to be smart. You got to be smart. Okay? And how you deal with it. And here's the thing, brothers. I want y'all to be smart, because all this game stuff, all this being a player, all this player stuff, all this game stuff, at the end of the day, not only can it cost you your livelihood and your freedom, not only can it cost you your livelihood and your freedom in the worst way, it also costs you time. It is time consuming. It is time consuming. All that Playboy stuff, all that being a player, brothers, all that being a player, all that player stuff, that stuff is time consuming. Game is time consuming. Kevin Samuels, shout out to him. He talked about that last night on his last stream. And Kevin Samuels talked about rich men. He made a huge differentiation between men who have resources, men who have money, men who have capital, over against men who don't have resources, men who don't have capital. So a man with resources, a man with money, what he calls high value men, I call them high status men. They ain't got time to be trying to play these psychological manipulative games with women. They ain't got time to be a minstrel, to be a monkey, and to entertain these women for short-term pleasure. They ain't got time for all that kind of stuff. You ain't got time for all that, brothers. You ain't got time to do all this cold approach stuff. All right. So you got to watch these old POA. You see the POA videos, PUA videos, these guys walking around here just talking to random women and all that kind of stuff, trying to get the phone numbers and everything like that. Brothers, that is time consuming. That is time consuming because you have a high level of failure when it comes down to it. All right. Because the reality is that you're not going to be extraordinarily successful. You can approach 100 women. You can approach 100 women in one day. 100 women in one day, and you'll be lucky if you walk away with 5 numbers. Okay, 5 telephone numbers. And if you walk away with 5 telephone numbers, there's no guarantee that when you call those numbers and you interact with these people, that there's going to be any type of reciprocation. There's no guarantee whatsoever. So all this stuff, this cold approach, all this stuff, picking up people at random, that stuff can cost you a lot of time. And because it can cost you a lot of time and because it comes with other type of consequences, you got to be smart. You have to be smart. And when I watched Kevin's stream last night, it was so interesting, brothers. I watched Kevin's stream last night. It was so interesting because there was a whole bunch of brothers. He devoted his stream to the men. And he had men calling on his stream. And a lot of these guys were young. Some of these guys were married. Some of these guys, it was clear that they did not have a whole lot of experience dealing with the opposite sex, dealing with women. And he had a very difficult time trying to get these guys to understand why you need to think about other type of strategies. And y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Kevin Samuels was talking about escorts. Kevin Samuels was talking about what we call tricking. All that stuff. And that there is a reason why you have men who are at the highest levels of society, who are very busy. They don't have time to be on dating apps. They don't have time to be walking the streets trying to meet people. They don't have time to be in the clubs. They don't have time to be in cafes and bars and trying to talk to women. And what those guys do is they find arrangements. They find arrangements, mutually beneficial arrangements that will help them out, that will meet their particular needs as men. Their needs. And there's this tension between this game stuff and the other stuff, with the tricks and the tricking and all that kind of stuff. Now, let me just say this to give y'all some clarification, brothers. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this, brothers, to get some clarification on this thing. Every man tricks. Every man tricks at one level or another. Every man pays. Every man pays, brother. I don't care. The game dudes, they pay. They pay at some level or another, brothers. And here's the thing, brothers. Either you're going to pay up front, either you're going to pay up front, or you're going to pay in the back end. Okay? Either you're going to have a direct arrangement or you're going to pay in the end, down the road. Okay? Because dating, whining and dining, having this a long-term courtship or whatever, and even marriage ultimately results in you paying for something. Give a shout out. I want to shout out to Leader Turney, because Leader Turney said that he raised the question. He said people asked him, was he a trick? Leader Turney said that. Raised the question. He said people asked him whether he was a trick. Leader Turney said that he was married for 10 years. He said he was married for 10 years. And he paid for everything over that 10-year period of marriage. And he's no longer married. And we can assume that he had to pay after the marriage. So you're going to pay even if you get married, brothers. Even if you get married, you're going to pay. And there are some people who have said that, you know, marriage is just a high class way of talking about prostitution, tricking. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. And see, the thing is that you have to understand that there are levels to this thing, brother. There are levels to this thing, and young men need to understand that. They need to understand that. And on the stream right here, guys, I'm talking about different types of men. Again, you got the players, you got the tricks, and you got the spectators. The players and the tricks, those are people who are actively, they're in the game, they're in it, they're in these interactions with women. But then you have the spectators. You got the spectators, you got the people who are not on the field. You got a whole bunch of people, brothers, who are not on the field, who are not in the market. They are not in the dating market. They are not actively interacting with the opposite sex. It could be because they are married to one particular person, Anton Daniels, married to one particular person, 10, 20, 15, 17 years. And that's the only person that they know. That's the only person they've interacted with. I know lots of married men. I know lots of married men who've only been with one woman. That's their wife. Only one woman. And what happens is that you have these men who are married, who only been with one woman, who have a whole lot to say, or they think they got a whole lot to say about men who are not married, about men who are actually in the field. That's why you got to be careful about those guys too, the spectators. Not only must you be concerned about those spectators who are men, but you got to be concerned about those spectators who are women as well. So you got a bunch of women who are out there. Those women on Kevin Samuels' channel who talk to him about the stuff he talks to them about. A lot of those women are spectators. A lot of those women are spectators. They are not actively in the market. They're not actively in the dating market. They got a whole bunch to say about dating. They got a whole bunch to say about interactions between men and women. But when he starts to ask them certain types of questions, well, how long have you been single? Oh, I've been single for 5 years. How long you been single? I've been single for 10 years. When was the last time you had a relationship? I haven't been in a relationship since 2005. Those people are spectators. They're spectators. And they got so much to say. So you got men and you got women who are spectators. They are not on the field. They are not actively in the game. So you got to be careful about who you listen to, brothers. We have to be careful. You young black men, you got to be careful about who you listen to. These married men, and shout out to y'all, I respect y'all and what have you. But unless, and I'm gonna be raw and honest with you, unless you out there messing around on your wife and you got like 10 mistresses or whatever, unless you in an open marriage, unless you're a married man who's in an open marriage, you ain't got a whole bunch to say about this dating market. You don't have a whole bunch to say about this dating market. Seriously. If you a married man, you just with one woman, and that's all you got, and that's all you know, and you're not dealing with this terrain that's out here, you're not dealing with this hostile environment, there's very little that you got to say. And we have to deal with that, brothers. We have to deal with this reality because the American context is hostile. It is hostile to men in general, black men in particular. And you have young black men. I realize right now we have young black men who are not raised a certain kind of way. They were not raised around groups of men. They were not raised around hordes of men. They have not received any kind of instruction, masculine instruction about how to engage the opposite sex. They've come up in an environment where everything is polarized. They've come up in an artificial environment where people communicate through social media, where men and women, young men and women, don't always have the social skills. They don't have the social skills necessary to communicate with the opposite sex. They don't have the social skills necessary to form healthy and productive relationships with the opposite sex. So I need you, I need us, brothers, to be very deliberate about how we engage young men in particular. And we need to be critical of other men who give men advice that can be very detrimental to them, that can hurt them in the long run. This is not the 1990s. We are not living in the 1990s. We are not living in the early 2000s. We are not. You go back and watch the videos watch music videos before 2000. From 2000 and beyond, you watch 2000 and before 2000, watch music videos, and you watch the R&B videos in particular, and you watch the human interactions. We had, you look at the culture during that time, it was a very different culture. People are antisocial today. They're antisocial. Does the cold approach still work? Yes, in some instances, it still works. You can do that. But the rate of failure is higher, and it's always been that way, but it's much higher today. The rate of failure is much higher today than it has ever been. This is why Black men have to seek alternatives. You have to seek alternative. Here's the thing. You are a masculine heterosexual man and you like women. You like women. Just be honest about that. You like women. You like the company of women. You like women. And you want to deal with women on a short-term basis. You want to deal with women on a long-term basis. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. Embrace it. Embrace it. I know that in these spaces, we have so many criticisms of dating and marriage and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is, at the end of the day, we are human beings and we want companionship. We want companionship. But we have to go about that kind of companionship in a very strategic and instrumental way, and to do so in ways that are most beneficial to all of us. And that's right. That's right, Xavier. Right now, everything is beneficial. Everything is beneficial to the opposite sex. This is a culture that demands that there be no reciprocity between men and women. This is a culture right now that demands that a man sacrifice his independence, his BMI. You're not supposed to be concerned about BMI. You're not supposed to be concerned about your own self-interest. You see? And that's a bad deal. It's a bad deal. It's a horrible deal. It's a horrible deal. And men know this. That's why marriage, the institution of marriage is in the trash. That's why the institution of marriage is in the gutter right now, and the situation is not improving. It's Friday night, guys. It's Friday night, guys. And I wanted to drop in, man, and just chat it up with you guys about this, because I'm seeing all of these streams. And let me just say something about attorney Dennis Sperling. He did a stream earlier today talking about us, those of us in the Black manosphere, and the success that we are having in doing stuff like this and having these conversations, the success that we are having in reorienting the thinking of men and getting men to focus on their autonomy, to focus on their sovereignty, and getting men to take seriously their own self-interest, their own BMI. And there are lots of people in this society, in the corporate world, in academia, in Hollywood, who take exception to men being self-interested, and men being strategic about how they deal with the opposite sex. The reality is, brothers, that there's going to be a lot of women. Here's the deal, brothers. There's going to be a lot of women who are going to die alone. There's going to be a lot of women who are going to die alone. Kevin is right. Kevin Samuels is right. There's going to be a lot of women who die alone. And the reason why they're going to die alone is because they created this environment. They created a situation where masculinity is seen as being toxic, as being evil. And it's not to say that they don't have any valid criticisms of masculinity, because we want men to be healthy men. We want men to be stand-up men. We want men to be ethical men. We don't promote violence. We're not anti-woman, anything like that. We don't support anything that would harm any other human being. That's not us. That's not what we do. Okay? There are men who are extremists. That's the reality. There are men who are extremists, but we don't represent the extreme. We don't promote the extreme. What we promote is BMI. That's what we promote. BMI and BMA and BME. This is what we are doing, brothers. Y'all like the stream. Y'all like the chat. Y'all like the stream. Like the stream. Like get these likes up, brother. I need y'all to get these likes up. I need y'all to share. I need y'all to subscribe. Share and subscribe. But this is an open chat. This is an open forum, brothers. This is an open forum. And what I'm going to do right about now is I'm going to put a link. I'm putting a link up in the chat. If you want to, anybody, if you want to, and you want to holler at us, you want to get in this conversation, a lot is going on. Brothers are doing all sorts of streams, dealing with men and navigating this terrain. There's a whole bunch that's been said about tricking and game and marriage and dating and all that kind of stuff. This is Friday night, brothers. This is Friday night. I appreciate all you guys. I appreciate all you guys who are sharing your Friday night with me. Not gonna stay up here too long. But this is something, these issues are not going anywhere anytime soon. And the dominant society is bothered by the fact that we are generating ideas. We are generating ideas in relationship to this toxic environment that has been created here in North America when it comes down to the opposite sex, when it comes down to the interactions between men and women. So if you guys have not seen those other streams, and y'all, I mean, there's a whole bunch of chatter about these strategies that are out there. We talked about the dating coaches. We talked about the game people and stuff like that. And people have talked about, we've talked about tricking and everything like that, you know, and what goes in to all of it. And that stuff is not going anywhere because our culture, the culture that we have right now, is not going to improve. It's not going to get improved. It's going to deteriorate even more. And y'all see what's happening now. You know, you all, most of you all have seen the news about OnlyFans. Y'all see the news about OnlyFans and how OnlyFans is now shifting away from its explicit content. And you all also know about what's going on in different cities. New York City has already decriminalized prostitution. California is trying to decriminalize it. In Florida and Miami in particular, they're trying to decriminalize it. So you got all these things that are going on that that are a bit confusing and also interesting in light of all of this attack on masculinity, all this attack on men, Black men in particular. And we are in this new place, this reset. And here's the thing, the reset, the shift, as the economy shifts with automation and as more jobs disappear, our interactions with the opposite sex are going to become more, I'll put it like this, brothers, it's going to become more interesting. That's the most I'm going to say about it. Our interactions with the opposite sex are going to become more interesting as the economy continues to deteriorate. And that is real. Okay. All right. And so if you get those calls, from people that you hadn't heard from in years, in months, when you get those calls from people that you haven't talked to in a long time, brothers, you need to have your antennas up. You need to have your antennas up for real, my brothers, because these strategies are for real. The ones that we need to employ, particularly you young Black men who are out there. Cool. Well, listen, dudes, listen, brothers. I'm not going to prolong this, but I wanted to share with y'all tonight. And I know that there's so many things that you guys are doing this weekend, and I'm glad that you were able to spend the time that you have here on this live. Y'all see the new BMI hat right here? It's the BMI hat, Black Male Independence right here. Y'all gonna see more of this right here, brothers. Absolutely. But this is raw. This is uncut. I want to talk to y'all in the raw, man, and I will look for you guys. I will look for you guys next time around, and look out for new videos from this channel, man. I appreciate you. Y'all be sure to share, like, and subscribe. Y'all know what time it is, baby. It's BMI all day long. You guys take care, and I'll talk to you next time around. Peace out.